Well, thank you all for being here. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how to get a great monitor mix. Practical topic today as we dive in, how to get a great monitor mix. And as I've been listening to feedback and as I've been traveling to the different campuses, I think we would all agree, nod your head if you're with me, that this is probably something that would be helpful to learn. And so I want to teach very practically today, but I want to teach in a way because we have different systems at each of our campuses. These are principles. Everyone say principles. These are principles, okay? So not everything is going to be a direct connection to your system, but I'm hoping that through these principles, you will gain a better understanding on how to get a great monitor mix. You might not have known this, but IEM is an acronym for in-ear monitors. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about IEMs today. So why do we use IEM systems on our campuses? Well, the first reason is to reduce stage noise and allowing for a clear sound and message. Some of us in this room remember the days when we had stage monitors all in front of us. Woo! Man, it got mighty loud, mighty quick. And so we want to reduce stage noise. The second reason that flows from that is we want to protect our ears by being able to control the volume of what we have going into our brains. We want to provide increased clarity of each instrument. When you have control over what you can mix, you can add clarity to the sound. And then finally, to provide customized, individualized mixes that suit your preferences. And everyone said? Because everyone has different preferences. You know, Greg has been out recently at Hampton, and I've come into his station, and I'll sit and I'll hear his mix, and I'll be like, that's interesting. We're just going to bring all that right down. But everyone has different preferences, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go along. So why is an IEM mix important? Well, I want to give you this big idea, and this is something worth writing down. Even if you write one word down today, I want you to write this word down: confidence. Write that at the top of your page. Getting your IEM mix right is the everyone say single. Single most important thing you can do to build your confidence as a performer. If you cannot hear yourself, but more importantly, if you cannot hear yourself in context of everyone else, you will not perform and you will not sing with confidence. When your mix is accurate and intentional, you sing in tune. You play in time. And you contribute to the dynamic and the unity of the entire band. Okay, I'm not trying to spiritualize things. That blessing that God talks about in Psalm 133, that's for our bands as well. When we dwell in unity together and we play and we use our giftings in such a way that honor and prefer one another, there's unity there, and the Lord rushes to bless unity. Hearing things correctly frees you, check this out, to spend more bandwidth for worship engagement with the band and in the congregation. If your mix isn't right, you're not going to feel the freedom to step out into things that we've talked about in the past, like stage presence. You're not going to feel, the freedom to come and, hey, Todd, what's going on? We're smiling, we're leading worship together. You're going to be like, am I getting this right? Am I singing this right? Am I in time? Am I in tune? You're going to be distracted. And that's why getting your mix right Sunday morning is really important. So I want to give you 10 tips for getting a great monitor mix. You have the keynote in front of you. There's some blanks to fill in. And I hope that under each blank, there might be one or two notes that you can make that is going to help you take the next step into getting a great mix. Here's the first thing. There's no substitute for a sound check. Let's say that together. There's no substitute for a sound check. One more time. There's no substitute for a sound check. You can't build a house without a foundation, and you can't build a mix without a dedicated sound check. It's just how it is. Arrive early and run through a song with the band and be focused on getting your ears right first, above all things. That is the most important thing you can do. And if you say, well, I just don't have time, you need to come earlier and make the time and have the margin. Take the time to understand how your IEM system works. Ask questions, watch videos. Don't wait for your worship leader to say, okay, well, let me assemble a package here for you, and here you go. Why don't you go? Be your own teacher and be a lifelong learner. We live in the age of the internet where there is a video for everything. There's a video for absolutely everything. I like to watch cooking videos, and I have found about 6 different videos, and I've tried about 3 different recipes on how to cook homemade French onion soup. There is a video for everything, and everyone does it a little bit differently. Ask questions, watch videos, take time to educate yourself so you can quickly navigate your system during sound check. Now, we primarily use 3 systems in our church. We use Avioms, and you might have recognized that picture that was up earlier. Those are the Avioms 360s. We use the Klang system, and I'm going to show you Klang as we go along. And then if you're at Greenbrier, you're kind of treated because you have a dedicated monitor mix happening. Okay, those are the 3 general systems that we use to mix in-ears. Okay, you ready for the second one? Here we go. Start from scratch. Start from scratch. I alluded to this previously when I was talking about coming in after Greg had been in the MD chair at Hampton, and I brought everything down. You have to start from scratch. And you say, well, no, there's stuff here I can work with. There's nothing for you to work with. Start from scratch. Trust me on that. Start from scratch because you will get better control over what it is that you want. There may be occasions where you can recall previous settings, but assume the band and assume the room will be different and zero out everything. It's not just who's on the stage. Have you ever had this experience? You go through a run-through and then you come out at 9 o'clock and your in-ears sound different? You don't have to be a rocket science. What changed? So physics. People are now in the room absorbing sound. That sound was able to reverberate and bounce off a whole bunch of things, but now there's like 100 more people in the room. Sometimes thousands more people in the room. So just don't assume that it's going to sound the same, okay? Put your master volume and belt pack at 2 o'clock. Now, Hampton has belt packs. Harborview's, Dave, are we going to belt packs? We have belt packs? Okay. So I want to show you here very clearly. So this is currently in the off position. You turn that to 2 o'clock. So here I am, I'm at 9, I'm at 12, and I'm at 2. A really great indication is to put that at the blue light. That is the first. Everyone say the first. That is the first thing that you should do when you're serving at campuses that have a belt pack. Okay? If you don't, you will not have the headroom to mix correctly and end up maxing out channels while still not having the volume you need to hear things correctly. There have been a number of occasions, and I've been guilty of this as well, where I'm wondering, I'm like, man, I got the MD up all the way and I can't hear him. Have you been there before? And I look at my belt pack and I'm like, I'm at 9 o'clock. So of course I turn up to 2 o'clock and now everything's too loud. And that's the moment where you have to bring everything back down and start from scratch. You got it. So if you're at Hampton and Harborview using Klang, make sure that your belt pack coincides with the mix that you're controlling. So this is extra information, but within Klang, I can actually tell it to identify with the belt pack that I'm using. So for instance, if I were to open up Klang here, I would have a menu button here that says belt pack Vox number 6. My name would be indicated in there. It says Vox 6. It currently says Kevin. And I would click Kevin, and that pairs this belt pack with Klang. Why do you think that would be important?
So I don't turn down Kayla's.
You got it. You got to be paired correctly. Because if you're not paired correctly,
21 days.
If you're not paired correctly, you're going to be controlling someone else's faders. Now, I want you to see the faders on Klang. I would recommend, where do we set this to? I would recommend having your master volume up all the way on Klang, okay? And then what do we do if we're coming out and we're starting a mix from you got it. All right. So here's the next thing. Be bold and don't be afraid to turn things up or down. Some of y'all are just a little reserved and you're like, I don't want to mess it up. You're not going to mess it up. You're going to gain confidence if you come early and you take the time. Vocalists, you can even come out while the band is still rehearsing, and just get your ears right. But be bold and don't be afraid to turn things up or down. Experiment with your mix. Here's the third thing. Reduce loudness. If everything is loud, nothing will be heard. You do not need to hear everything. You really do not. You do not need to hear everything. The purpose of you building a mix is not for you to have the studio recording in your head and like, okay, here I come. No, you don't need the studio recording. And we're going to talk a little bit about the primary things that you do need, but do not make everything loud. And the reason why is because volume compounds, and you can always come back and make adjustments. Okay? Don't get stuck in the vortex of like, I can't hear it, getting louder, I can't hear it, going to make it louder, can't hear it. That is a bad plan. That's going to wear out your ears, and you aren't going to be able to hear anything. When sounds are competing for each other, it's easier to increase volume than decrease it, so leave yourself the headroom to be able to do so. Okay, bring everything nice and quiet, and then just increase it as you need it. Mix for context. Consider how loud things should be. Here's the key. In light of the entire sound and what's most important for you to be able to hear. When we're talking about a mix, we are talking about two different things. We're talking about what we hear and the individual instruments, and then we're talking about the overall sound. Let me break it down vocally. If you're singing, there's a difference between the sound that you make alone, singing solo. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. Angel, harmonize with me. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. There's a difference in the sound of me singing by myself and the sound that two voices bring together. And I want to encourage you to understand how you sound like in context with the rest of the band. There's a difference. And it's that unity, it's that sound of how we sound together. If we were to add a third part to that, there would be a difference between I'm concentrating on what I'm singing versus the sound that all three parts are making. So keep in mind the entire sound and what's most important for you to be able to hear. Occasionally, tracks and click may sound louder or softer from song to song. We try to mitigate that, but that does happen sometimes. And if that does, just let the MD or the worship leader know if that's the case. Okay, here's the fourth thing. Create space with panning. Create space with panning. Now, most of our systems are capable to mix in stereo, and this allows you to manipulate where sounds are heard of. So you can actually pan things. Now, when I say pan, are you with me? When I say pan, it means that like if I'm talking here, I can actually make it so it comes out of the left side of the ear. If I'm talking here, I can make it sound like it's only coming out of the right side. I can also put it directly in the middle. And this becomes really helpful if you want to build a stage that's true to the soundscape on the stage. So often when I'm on the platform, I will mix things according to where people stand and are performing. If you do not pan and you mix everything down the middle, you will have a lot of sound competing for your attention. Some of which may not be as important to others. And this is how music plays. When you play a song that you like on the radio, if you close your eyes, have you ever done this before? And imagine where the band is? You might hear the drummer behind you, you might hear, and that's the soundscape. And you have tools within panning to create an accurate soundscape. You say, well, Travis, that's a lot of work. It really isn't within our system. So there's two ways to do that. On Klang, when you open up Klang, you have this button on the side that says stage. And you can subdivide drums, band, and vocals. And so here I am with the vocals, and Kelly was number 7, and she's over here. Well, maybe Kelly's on the right side of the stage, so I'm going to put her on the right side. Maybe Yamaris is right beside me, so I'm going to put her right about there. And then maybe, let's see who this is. This is Dalton was visiting us this week. Not Pastor Dalton, another Dalton. And I'm going to put him on that side. So that's how you do it. Now on the Avioms, you'll notice that you have a dial and little red dots will appear to the left or the right according to the number of channel that you have selected. And you can pan to the left or pan to the right for every single channel. And if you don't know where to identify that channel, you can ask your worship leader. Okay? But I would encourage you not to put everything down the middle because that's a lot of information for your brain and you don't need all that information competing for your attention. Like I mentioned, you can pan according to where people are on stage. Belt packs also allow for panning of overall sound, okay? So there's a second layer to this. We've talked about panning in the avioms. We've talked about panning on the Clang app. But these belt packs that we use on some of our campuses, they also can be panned. I recommend that you do not. Everyone say do not. Do not mess with this. But you may come on a Sunday morning and it's been messed with. And so I want to give you the tools that you need to know how to fix that. So let's see if we can get this to play.
This is how to pan audio on your Shure in-ear pack. First we're going to open up the unit, squeeze tabs, open the battery cover.
Sorry.
Buttons, we're going to press enter to bring us to the menu. Scroll down with the up and down buttons to audio, press enter again. Scroll down to balance and press enter. This one is currently set up as it should be, with balance is left equals right, but we can send all the audio to the left ear. Conversely, all the audio to the right ear. We're going to set it back to center, which is where it should be by default for most users. Left equals right, perfect. Enter again. And we're back to our home screen. Good to go.
Has anybody ever had that happen to them where they've walked in, they've had a belt pack that's been, yeah, a couple of you? So we want to make sure that you have those tools. And just rest assured, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. We're going to put this up online. You don't have to remember how to do this and trying to scratch it down. What was step 1, step 2? We're going to put the keynote online with all the videos so that you can watch them and review them on your own time. Okay, number 5, use EQ to shape the sound. EQ stands for equalization, and in its most basic form, it relates to 3 main parts of the sound wave. On the left is bass, in the middle is what we call mid-range, and on the top it's called treble, okay? Now most of our systems allow you to manipulate these controls to shape the sound. Adjusting your EQ will help your voice and instrument to sound in your ears as you hope it is sounding in the PA. Some of you vocalists, some of you instrumentalists, you have told me before, Travis, it doesn't, man, my guitar sounded better in my living room than it does here. You need to mess with your EQ, okay? You say, well, I've never done that before. That's okay. Come early and experiment with it. Singers, a good rule to follow is to roll off some low-end bass on your vocal. If you find the click sound too annoying, anybody testify to that? Find the click sound annoying? Who doesn't? Okay? Try taking off the high end. Try taking off the high end. So you select, you would go here to your faders, select the click, and if you're on those avioms, go to your little treble and just dial that back, and it'll be less annoying for you. It'll be less piercing. Here's number 6. Don't remove your IEMs. That has a nice little cadence to it, doesn't it? Don't remove your IEMs. It's unwise to remove your IEMs. Taking out an IEM in order to hear the room can indicate that you do not have your mix set properly. Now, I will admit that my staff does not necessarily practice this well. I cannot control people, but I can give suggestions. Prolonged usage of just one IEM, I'm being serious here, guys, it will result in what's called ear fatigue, and you can damage your hearing.
What'd you say?
Ear. My work here is done. Ear fatigue is when one ear is more sensitive than the other. And you don't want that. Remember that when you remove one IEM, folks, you remove half of the sound. You're like, I can't hear. Well, you got one ear out, bro. And you say, well, I want to be able to hear what's happening in the room. I appreciate that. And we'll talk about how you can do that using ambient mics. Okay, here's the 7th thing. Don't overload your mix. Don't overload your mix. Truth be told, you do not need everything in your mix. I'm going to give you a list of what the most important stuff is, this is a great spot to take some notes under this section. You need a pitch reference so you can play and sing in tune. Now, the nature of this room was loud enough that, Angel could hear where the third or the fifth, he was singing with me on that harmony, and I was singing in his direction. He had a pitch reference. If we turned our backs to each other and just said, hey, pick a key, and just start singing, that would not go well. Unless we had some kind of crazy Sixth Sense thing going on. But I don't think we have that going on. But you need to have a pitch reference so that you can sing in tune and so that you can play in tune. I have like a hypersensitivity to things that are out of tune. And Aaron McGriffin knows this because there's been a couple of times where I've turned to him and I've been, oh, your A string's out of tune, your E string's out of tune. Make sure that you have a pitch reference in your ears. For some of you, that can be something like a keyboard. Keyboard, especially because we use electronic keyboards, are not likely to be out of tune. Okay? It could also be an acoustic guitar, but again, the likelihood of that acoustic guitar being a little out of tune, it's possible. Like keys is a safe bet. Okay? You also need to be able to hear the other vocalists and the worship leaders, especially if you're singing a part against theirs. You need a timing reference so you can play and sing in time. That might be the click, that might be the drums. If you break it down, you say, well, I don't need all the drums, have the kick and the snare. Because in popular music, the kick and the snare is going to tell you where the beat is. Okay? You might not be able to have that just from the overheads, depending on what part of the song you are in, but the kick and the snare is a safe bet. An energy reference, so you can match the energy of the moment. Match the energy. That's a phrase I want us all to learn. Let's say that together. Match the energy. That is so great because when pastor is on the platform or when the CP is on the platform or when someone's being baptized, we want to create energy that encourages people to listen and pay attention to what's being said on the platform. That's not used to manipulate people. That's used to add energy and to match the energy of what's already happening on the platform. So this could be the MD telling you in your mic, roll, 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 roll. This could be the pastor's mic. During 21 days of prayer, pastor comes out on the platform and he elevates his voice, and we want to match that energy. It could be the ambient room mics or the tracks that are giving you a sense of, okay, where's the energy in this song going? But you need to have a pitch reference, you need to have a timing reference, and you need to have an energy reference. Okay, here's the 8th thing. Use ambient mics. When available and when it doesn't muddy your mix, add ambient mics to your mix. These are the room mics. Now I admit, specifically here at Hampton, they don't do a whole lot because our PA is loud and is old. But experiment with that on your campus. That is what's going to help. The reason why you're taking out your ears so you can hear the room, we have mics at most of our campuses that are designed for you to put into your mix so you actually can hear people singing and what's happening in the room. And I think this is just a great principle. As worshipers, we're ultimately called, this is worth writing down, we're called not to read notes on pages, but to read hearts from stages. That's what we're going for. This is a Melissa DeMonch quote, which, by the way, I didn't mention her earlier. She's on mat leave, but she is coming back, hallelujah, the beginning of March, and we're excited to have her back. And she says this, the most important voice in worship is the voice of the congregation. Worship leaders and vocalists, I love it when we throw it to the congregation and letting them hear themselves sing. When you can hear the room, you can get a sense of the energy, and often this is indicative of how the Holy Spirit is moving in the moment. If people are leaning in and singing out, that can be, listen to the choice of words I'm using, that can be indicative of the movement of the Holy Spirit. Conversely, it can just be indicative that it's their favorite song. You know, I need the Holy Spirit's help to be able to read those moments and to read people's hearts. Here's the 9th thing. Invest in IEMs. If you can afford to, invest in your craft by purchasing a set of IEMs and use them both at home and when serving at church. This will allow your ears to get used to them. Understand and practice how to insert IEMs in your ears. Y'all, I've seen some of you just look kind of funny putting your IEMs in. And there's so many videos online. That little knob on the end, it needs to go into your ear canal, and the wire always goes up and around your ear, okay? The bud goes snug into the ear canal, and the wire should always flow across the top of the ear. They should feel comfortable, and they should isolate external sound. If you have them in and you're still hearing like a lot of external sound, they're probably not in correctly. And you can use the width adjustment. Y'all, you know about the width adjustment? This is great. On the back, there's a life changer. There's that little piece that brings the two cables together. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You just tighten that up to the back of your head, and you are ready to rock. It is a great, great little tool to use. Now, we recommend, if you're looking at purchasing some in-ears, we recommend the Shure SE215 CLs. They are $99 on Amazon. We provide sets for you to borrow when you serve, as well as a replacement earbuds and a place to store them on every one of our campuses. Who does not own a set of in-ear monitors? Okay, I'd like to give these to you. There you go. Now, if you are considering a career, in music, if you say, well, you know, I envision myself going a step further than just serving in my local church, you might consider a set of what are called customized IEMs. And if that's of interest to you, we have a discount with a company called All Claire Audio. And I have had 2 sets of in-ears in my life. I had Westtones. They were the first to the game. They made hearing aids back in the day. Had Westtones for 15 years until some scoundrel stole them out of my car, and they don't even fit his ears. And then I went to All Claire's. And the difference between custom in-ears and the ones that I had, these are actually molded to the inside of my ear. So when I put these in, red always means right. Okay? Red always means right. I come up over the ear, and I pop this in just like that, and that is customized, and I can feel this isn't right. There, I got it right. That is customized to the shape of my ear. I bring this one over here to the left. I'm just demonstrating this so you understand what they should look like when they're in. And this one pops in right into the shape of my ear. I can barely hear a thing. I bring this, I tighten this up, and it's snug. I plug in. I've forgotten to plug in before. That's a bad day. And I'm ready to go. Now, custom IEMs can run anywhere between $400 and $600 depending on the models and how many drivers you get. Lots of people think, more drivers, more power. It's not true. Quads are fine, but they do require a trip to the audiologist's office, and they'll squirt this gunk in your ear that'll take your mold out. This is advanced stuff, but if you see yourself having a career in music or you want to make a substantial investment like that, come and speak to me and I can tell you more about that. Okay, here's the last thing. Maintain and clean your IEMs. Y'all, it's my job to like tidy up the little cabinet in Hampton. And y'all, some of y'all have a lot of earwax, okay? I'm just saying. But listen, IEMs work best when the sound is not obstructed. We have small little tools, okay? I might even have one here in my, I do. We have these small little tools. Have you seen these before? It's got a little brush on one side, and then on the other side, it's got this little apparatus that you can pull out, and you can kind of dig away. It's really gross. It's really gross. But you need to clean the earwax off of your IEMs, and you need to speak to your worship leader about how to use these tools. Don't be ashamed. God made your ears to create earwax. It's part of your immune system, actually. If you use a set of the church's IEMs, please be responsible for removing and cleaning and storing your earbuds. We have little drawers at most campuses where you can store those buds. They can be cleaned and used multiple times. Don't throw your buds out. They cost money. Just clean the earwax off of them. Put them in your drawer. Nobody else is going to go. Lord have mercy. No one else is going to go into your drawer and use your earbuds. And we provide replacement buds for the church sets in small, medium, and large sizes. We have replacement cords if you get a short. If you're using your in-ears and you get a short, we have replacement cords, okay? So let's do a review. Let's say these 10 steps together. Okay, let's start with number 1. There's no substitute for sound. Number 2. Start from scratch. Number 3. Reduce loudness. Number 4. Create space with panning. Number 5. Use EQ to shape the sound. Number 6. Don't remove your IEM. That's got a great cadence. Don't remove your, I want to write a song to that. Number 7. Don't remove your mix. Number 8. Use ambient lights. Number 9. Invest in IEMs. Number 10. Maintain and clean your IEMs. I feel like we're on Family Feud. That's awesome. Okay? So, I want to give you the mixing order of operations. This is on the back of your sheet. You say, Travis, you've talked about a lot in a short amount of time, but what do I need to know? What do I need to go away remembering? It is the mixing order of operations. Number 1, bring that master volume to 2 o'clock. Don't forget to do that. Number 2, zero out everything. Number 3, add pitch reference. Number 5, add energy reference like the MD, the pass-through, the ambient mics or tracks. Number 6, pan and make final adjustments as needed. Those are the mixing order of operations. That is worth taking a picture, putting it on your phone. You come Sunday morning, you're like, I know he taught us this, but I totally forget everything he said. You have it, and you'll remember. Capiche?
When do you set your level?
Pardon?
Where do you set your level in that? Are you before the pitch reference or
Where do I set,
So were you in that, when would you set your key reference? Does that happen?
I would do it in order. I'd start with pitch, and then I'd start with time. It doesn't really matter as long as you have those references in place. I actually, when I build a mix, I start from the bottom up. So I start with drums, and I start with bass, and the reason why is because the bass is the anchor of all the chordal harmony. and so the low end, if you think of the sound spectrum, bass, mid-range, and treble, you got bass and you got drums on the low end. Sometimes the left hand of the keyboard, but he really should be sitting on his left hand when he plays with a worship band. Then you have the mid-range, which is like acoustic guitars and electric guitars. And then you got the high end, which can be lead guitar and voices. So that's usually the order that I do. And if you notice, at least at Hampton, that's how everything is ordered in Klang. It starts there and it moves across the spectrum. Okay? Okay, so we're going to build a mix together, but before we do that, I want to take 2 minutes and I want you to turn to your neighbor and just say, here's one thing that I learned from the last 30 minutes. Go ahead and do that right now. All right. So what I've done, let's take out our order of operations and let's just take a minute, and what I want us to do is build a mix together. What I've done is I've pulled up Jehovah in playback. Did you guys like that song? Yes. We're going to learn that. We're going to learn that in a couple of weeks. And I brought up this song, and I've just walked in, and the levels are not set. So what is the first thing that we want to do? We want to zero. Yes, we want. That's right. So let's assume that we have our master volume to 2 o'clock, and we turn off that pad there. Let's bring everything down here to 0. Okay. So I got everything mostly down to 0. All right. Okay, and I got my master up. I'm going to start playing the track. Obviously, I'm not going to hear anything. And then what's our next step?
Add pitch reference.
We need a pitch reference, right? Okay, so I hear pad coming in, so that's good. Let me try to find where the keys are. Okay. Yes.
Hand to your left. Show us too.
Oh, right. I don't think I can. I'm not going to demonstrate panning today.
No.
Oh, you're telling me to pan. Oh. Nice application, Ty. I like that. So we're turning up the piano there. We got a little bit of a pitch reference. We're about to go into verse 2. What else do we need?
Click.
We need some click. Okay, so let's bring the click up. I'm going to subdivide that a little bit so I really stay on time. Okay, what else do we need? We need what? We need some energy. Okay, well, why don't we add some bass? There's some little guitar. Those electrics are going to bring a lot of energy, so I'm going to bring those up a little bit. I feel like we got a song coming into focus here. A little bit of keys too. Now, if I'm singing, what else do I need? I need some vocals. So this is a spot where there isn't any singing, so I'm going to wait till we get to verse 3. Okay, I got the choir in there, a little bit of a mix. So can I hear pitch?
Yes.
So where's the tonal center of the song? Anyone want to sing it out? You hear that note? Everyone sing that note with me. Ooh, good. Now where's the beat? Can someone tap to the beat with their hands? Got it. And we could sing together, right? Jehovah, Jehovah. So that is just a quick demonstration of what it should look like on Sunday morning. And the more that you do it, the more that you will build your confidence and have a great mix. And going back to our first point, the more confident you are, the better of the worshiper you're going to be and the better performer you're going to be for the Lord, okay?